Why are you licking my gobstopper?
Strike that. Reverse it.
Nazi punks! Lick my plate! Drainage!
It'll be 10 minutes where it's like a Steven Soderbergh Ocean's 11 movie. It's all slick and funny and stuff. Then just the most horrific shit imaginable happens.
It's because that's what the fucking movie's about, you asshole. This fucking guy.
The Tree of Life is freaking awesome.
I'm sure you think it is.
Faded to black.
Oh, you are fucking this up.
Neon slime. My basement.
Oh, but I got the right answer!
Oh, no, you fucking didn't, mate.
Jared Leto, man.
You're the worst, dude. If you ever listen to this, Jared Leto, you are the fucking worst. But I'd rather watch that dude, the English dude, who looks like he's not done yet.
So, hail, counselor! We are now in the ninth circle! The circle of traitors! Traitors to the country! Traitors to the fellow man! Traitors to God!
You look like a stunned mullet, mate!
A what?
This movie is the opposite of getting laid.
Thank you to all our listeners who have been listening to us for over a year now. Subscribe to us on Apple iTunes, Spotify, YouTube, and any other platform that has podcasts. Visit our Patreon page, become a Patreon to get more additional content. Again, we appreciate you listening and keep watching those movies. Now, on with the show. Hello, Tales from the Video Store listeners. This is Garrick Lane, and I'm here sincerely apologizing for the lack of production on this particular podcast. The podcast is very good. However, we didn't do an opener because the day that we recorded this, which we were a week late on our schedule doing and couldn't postpone again, I was very sick. You will hear in the cast different times where I step away from the table because I am so sick. So I just wanted to let you know I was here in spirit. I didn't talk much, and it was really kind of a disappointing thing because this was my movie. I picked this movie. I love John Sayles, Lone Star, and I had so much great stuff to say about it, but I was just so damn sick that I just needed to keep my mouth shut and let Doug and Lee take the helm. So we just got a new logo. We just got some new sponsors. We got some new stuff coming. Unfortunately, the day that we were going to unveil it, I was deathly sick. So, without further ado, here is the Lone Star Podcast number 101. And again, thanks for listening. And get ready for Killer Joe next week. Welcome to
You're never going to be able to do this. Just don't even do it. Just do it very calmly.
Welcome to Tales from the Video Store 101. How about that? We're in the hundreds.
We are not.
We got a snazzy new logo.
That we do.
We have a snazzy new website by the time this comes out.
Okay.
Pretty awesome.
Great job on all that stuff, Garrick.
Oh, thanks, man. Thanks. We had to take a week off. I had to go to Utah, and
God damn, brought something back with him.
I brought some Utah something back with me. Anyway, I'm not going to do any talking today, or I'm going to do as minimal as possible, which I'm sure all our listeners will enjoy. But I'm going to not talk very much because, again, I've been dealing with some COVID lingers, and I've got some cough issues, and man, I'm telling you what, it's terrible, guys. Wear your masks and be safe. Get the vaccine. Do whatever you got to do not to get COVID, because it's awful. It is. It is. All right, we got some news. Let's get going.
Well, since we're recording this today, the 26th, and we're doing movies based in Texas this month, I was just going to mention that Larry Mcmurtry, the novelist and screenwriter, passed away today.
That's right.
He wrote, Lonesome Dove and Brokeback Mountain and just tons of books and movies.
Ironically, one of the movies that I watched, he wrote.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. But yeah, he was a great writer, and it's a shame he passed away. But he was getting on up there.
He has a massive freaking library too.
He really does.
Like a 30,000 or so book library that is pretty amazing.
Yeah, exactly. And other than that, just apparently we've talked a lot about the last year of sort of the future of theaters versus streaming. And apparently next year in 2022, all the films that are like HBO Max, they're not going to release the films day of. There's going to be like a 5-week window between the theatrical and the streaming. So apparently, this whole every movie comes out on the same day is just basically just a pandemic thing.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, that actually makes total sense.
Yeah.
Because the first 5 days is when
5 weeks.
The first 5 weeks is when it's going to make its money. After 5 weeks, it kind of dies out. That's still awesome because we used to have to. Let's see, you'd have to see the movie, and then 6 months would go by, and then you could buy it, and then another 3 weeks before you could rent it at Blockbuster.
Yeah.
Right. So now at least we're getting it fast. 5 weeks is. 5 weeks is only a month and a week, It's nothing.
That's true. But yeah, so that'll probably be I say that, other than, I think Warner Brothers and Paramount, that's how they're going to do it. And I would imagine basically all the other studios will probably do the same thing.
Follow suit, if you will.
Yeah.
Yeah, good. Okay.
Anybody else have any news?
The only thing I saw, and I stopped reading the article about halfway through because I'm just so fucking tired of this shit. I read an article with Sharon Stone talking about her days, I guess with a particular shoot in a particular movie where her very particular vagina was on screen, and she was apparently not only did she, even though she apparently was told to take her underwear off for some reason, and she decided that she would do that, she was shocked when they were showing, I guess, the dailies or whatever, or maybe the finished product, I'm not 100% sure. And her big old smiling vagina was right there in the middle of a scene in Basic Instinct. Right. And how she had immediately contacted a lawyer and was wanting to prohibit this from happening, but for some reason was, I guess, talked out of it or whatever.
Muscled out by the Me Too bastards.
And, it's one of those where I'm like, if you're doing something that you don't want to be doing, then don't fucking do it. She absolutely could have hell-raised and had that bit taken out of that movie, I believe, and instead...
Or she could have quit.
Or walked away from it, exactly.
Yeah.
But to come back, 25 or almost 30 years later and bring it up again, and it just comes across to me kind of like a blame game thing, like, you were a fucking adult back then, you had a choice,
right?
And in the subsequent years, I have seen her play on that scene at different award shows, different things that she's been in. She has made a fucking career off of that scene.
And I don't want to, and I hate to, because I obviously wasn't there, so I don't know either way. So
right.
I hate to call her a liar. But from what I know about Paul Verhoeven, from, RoboCop, all the movies he's made, he doesn't seem like, he seems very open with, I don't know, I don't know if I can see him trying to trick somebody into doing that.
Yeah.
Because his movies are very adult,
Joe Esterhaus was the writer who wrote Showgirls. Like, you knew they were going to try to get as much out of her as possible.
Right. I mean, those two guys together, they aren't, they're not making a Disney movie. I can't, and plus, let's be honest, you have to like things in movies. The fact that it was just she didn't know it was happening. I just can't. I don't know.
Didn't know it was happening, and then there was like a suggestion that she said that, you know, I don't know if it was the director per se or maybe a producer was trying to get her to sleep, I guess, with Michael Douglas to, you know,
I did see that.
Crank up their chemistry or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, I just don't know how much of all that I
don't know. Who's to say, but it just seems very strange, like you said, to come out. And it's not like she was, you know, attacked or any way or injured. It's just, you know, I don't know. Who knows? It's a very strange story.
And then I saw, like, the next day, I don't know where the fuck is she on tour now? Because I saw another article with her in an interview, something about Christian Bale. You know, he has kind of a bad reputation for being a prick on sets.
Right.
You know, and a lot of film crews have complained about it, and her advice to them was to grow up. And I just find that to be an odd juxtaposition between her own personal, what happened to her, and then trying to talk about somebody else and talking down to these people who, you know, she wasn't on these sets. She's never been on a set with him and has absolutely no fucking idea how crazy he may or may not be on a set and what an asshole he may or may not be. It's just weird. Just a touch too much Sharon Stone this week.
Yeah.
For my taste, yeah. And I've always loved her. I love Basic Instinct. It's one of my all-time favorites. And
she's great in that and Casino,
and that's it.
And that's pretty much it.
But those are two.
And I will admit, she does give the best performance in Casino.
Yeah, she's amazing.
Like, she's ridiculously good.
Yeah.
But, you know, so, I mean, there's always that, but, you know.
Yeah.
I don't know, what's more embarrassing, her snowing her spiz for 2 seconds or being in 2 Alan Quartermain movies from the 80s?
Yeah.
True.
Yeah.
She was nominated for a gold. I mean, I know we don't care about the Golden Globes, but the Golden Globe. She was nominated for a Golden Globe for that movie. I would have just shut the fuck up.
Well, she did. She did shut the fuck up until
It's right now.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna come out with this.
It's very odd to me.
Yeah. She certainly didn't return the money.
No.
That's true.
But,
All right, so Ben Wheatley's In the Earth trailer. What do you think?
Listen, he shot it during the lockdown in London, and I was expecting, you know, it looks like a real movie. Like, the trailer looks really, I mean, it looks very professional. I kind of thought he would maybe get, like, some high-end, you know, camera and just shoot it with something with his friends, you know. But it looks, had you not told me it was shot during the lockdown, I wouldn't know it.
Right. It looks amazing.
Yeah.
It looks scary and beautiful, and he shot it in like 15 fucking days in the middle of a pandemic. I don't know how. I can't wait to see this, dude.
Yeah, and I will say something not really related to this movie, but he has dropped out of being the director of the new Tomb Raider movie, which doesn't really bother me because I couldn't really see that working.
Right.
You know, because I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there will be another Tomb Raider movie. There's lots of money to be made there, but I would rather see this or other Ben Wheatley movies than Tomb Raider directed by him. Although I'm sure it probably would have been cool, but
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah, but I much prefer his something like you said, something like this.
Yeah, just super weird.
Just super fucking weird because that's what he does, and he does it extremely well. Yeah. Excited, for sure.
Yeah, it looks awesome, man. I can't wait. I love all his movies.
Yeah.
He's a good director.
Yeah, Lee and I had our first argument.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Talking about kill lists, we had to.
Yep, and I stand by every word of it.
I probably do too. I don't really remember it, but it's like we watched it and we were comparing it to something else, and I don't know.
Yeah.
Good movie. I'd like to revisit it.
Okay. That was our very first episode.
Yeah, it's one that I think we should maybe revisit at some point.
That is the one time I wish we had a videotape, because our former co-host Mark Rose's face when we were watching the movie was just bright.
I don't know if he could have hated it more.
Probably not.
Yeah.
But anyway, so do y'all want to get into the movie this week?
Let's get into it a little bit, shall we?
Yes,
All
let's
right.
do.
The movie this week is 1997's Lone Star. Garrick, just sit back, man. Lee and I'll take over.
Okay.
All right. John Sayles,
Yes.
who is he is a very rare director that has never gone like full on studio, yet he is still able to attract A-name talent for his projects. His storytelling is amazing.
This movie is amazing.
You know, before we got into this, and Garrick, you had talked about watching it a couple of episodes ago, and I remember this movie. I remember it coming out. I remember watching it in I want to say 97 or maybe around 98, whenever it came out on DVD back then. But I didn't remember it in detail, and man, I was pleasantly surprised with just about everything that I saw in this.
It's I'm trying to think of the best word for it. Like, it's a classic. I love it. Like, it's so good.
It's fantastic storytelling. So basically the premise, a loose premise, it's a small border town in Texas that is comprised of probably 85% Hispanic and maybe 10% white people and maybe 5% African Americans, and the white people basically, you know, they control the government, the local government, and the sheriff is the son of a guy who was a legendary sheriff from the 50s, 60s. And a body gets found. Some guys are out doing some, I guess they're like treasure hunting with metal detectors, and they come upon this skeleton, and it sends this sheriff, played by Chris Cooper, down this path where he's investigating his father, and you can tell that because of the massive shadow that his father left in the community, that he's always struggled to even make his own name in any kind of a way. And he has a lot of doubts about, you know, the kind of man that his father really was. And like a lot of my favorite stories, at the heart of it is a story about fathers and sons, and just how fucked up those relationships can be. You know, Chris Christopherson is in this, and he is amazing. Or he talked about Cooper. Matthew McConaughey plays his father in the flashbacks, and it's just it's a slow burn, but the payoff is exactly what it needed to be.
Oh, yeah.
Lee, any thoughts?
Absolutely. I completely agree. I mean, before he was a filmmaker, John Sayles was a novelist. You can definitely tell that in this movie because it feels like it's structured like a novel. With
Right.
Flashbacks and everything. And it's you know, there's not really, it's like not really a crime film. It's not really a drama. It's sort of weirdly in between. You know, I guess it's one of the best movies of the 90s, and it's a shame that it wasn't, you know, that like you said, talks about John Sayles has never really, you know, made a studio film. It's weird that I'm sure maybe he did get offers after this movie, because I remember this movie being fairly successful. You know.
Oh, I think he definitely did, but it's just not. He's not that
what he
guy.
wants to do, right? And but it's great. It's, you know, Chris Christopherson. I made a post on our page's Instagram page. I think he's only in the movie for like 10 minutes. But I think he's one of the best movie villains, you know,
He's so
He is
good.
terrifying.
He's so fucking scary as a white sheriff in the late 1950s that owns this fucking border town. And he does what he wants, and nobody stands up to him until McConaughey,
Right.
who is a deputy at that point, basically is like, we're not doing this bullshit anymore.
Yeah.
And then, they have kind of this argument, and then a few days later, Christopherson's character, or this sheriff, disappears.
Yeah.
And, go ahead.
Now, I was going to say, for anybody who hasn't seen the movie, if I would compare Christopherson's character, it'd be the Warren in the Shawshank Redemption. That's similar to like a very corrupt, like on the outside, like he's a very respectable guy, but in the inside, he's just like the most. He's basically just evil.
Yes, he
like,
is the
Christopherson's
worst.
like the devil in this movie.
Yeah, yeah.
Like that scene when they're in the nightclub, and he just turns on that guy for spilling his beer.
Because he moves the glass, because he's just a fucker. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah,
and just like you see how that person just lords power over people.
Oh yeah, he has them. He lures them into grabbing their guns and then he shoots them.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah.
Terrible.
Yeah, but Chris Cooper's great. McConaughey is great. I mean, like it's fantastic movie.
Elizabeth Pena is awesome.
Yep.
I've always had a thing for her.
Yeah.
That's an odd one, but I always have. And she's just sexy to me. I don't know why.
She's dead.
Damn it, Garrick.
She was drunk.
You don't have to. You don't have to like pee all over my Elizabeth Pena parade.
You have a better chance at her now than you did
In '97.
in 97.
That's probably true. Unfortunately.
This movie is it really is like sets the bar for storytelling. It's great. It's 2 hours. It's a slow burn, but all the characters, how they do the transitions into the flashbacks, how they kind of go off the actor,
All of it.
yeah, every bit of it. It's just a great movie.
Your girl Frances
Yeah.
shows up for like 45 seconds at scene stealing again,
Oh yeah.
like she likes to do. And, I just really thoroughly enjoyed it in a way that I just generally was not expecting. Because, like I say, it had been over 20 years since I'd seen it, and I couldn't remember much of the details at all. But the biggest detail, I guess, is at the very end.
Right.
Where some things are revealed that may or may not have been a good idea to reveal, but I guess it's always a good idea to stick with the truth, no matter how disgusting it may be.
Yeah, that's true. It is very
I think they
important.
decided to stay together, didn't they?
Let's see.
And that's how I take it.
Right.
They just kind of said,
Typical
it
in
is what it
Texas.
is.
It's typical stuff in Texas. It's fine.
I mean, I guess there was a quote from the movie that I took, and I jotted it down because I liked it so much. And it's when Cooper's character, the son, is talking to another guy who was friends of his father's, and he's making these kind of wild accusations about his character. And he says, "You lived under the man's roof for 17 or 18 years and you didn't know him any better than that." And it really made me think about, my own upbringing and how much, especially now that my dad's dead, how well did I really know him, especially during that time.
Yeah.
You know him when you're seeing him every day, but before me and then, once I left, it's like, what was his life really like? Who was he really?
Yeah.
And, just one of those lines, I paused it and I was like, I'm going to jot that down. Kind of got me thinking a little bit.
Right.
But
I know exactly what you're saying. Like at my dad's funeral, it was weird. People come up, all his friends come up and told me that he was the funniest guy they ever met. And I was like, we're talking about the same guy, the same Larry Bridges, right?
Yeah.
Like my view of him when I was a kid was definitely not as a funny guy.
Yeah. He never told one joke ever. Yeah.
No. Would stop me and my brother from telling jokes. He'd be like, I don't want to hear that shit. And but him and his friends, he was just like, he was the funniest guy ever.
Yeah.
But it's like, there's like, he was just a different person with them than he was, Yeah. So yeah, you're right. It's a great movie. It really is. Shame it's not more well known. You can get it. There is a Blu-ray on. You have to go to the Warner Brothers archive site, and you get it there. So it's readily available. And it's actually there's a lot of streaming channels like where it's plays free with ads. So it's available for people to see. All you got to do is look for it.
Yeah, and I highly, highly, highly recommend it. It's a little bit more of, as Garrick would say, an opera of cinema than it is, our normal stuff here that we like to expound upon. But this is, I would not recommend something like that if it wasn't something special. And this is very, very special. This was an excellent movie.
And I think Garrick, you were saying how it's a slow burn. It's slow burn, but it's not a. It's a very. It's a slowly paced movie, but it's a very deliberately paced movie. Like there's nothing boring about it.
Right.
It's very well done.
Yes.
And something else I like about it is there's a lot of social issues talked about in it. But
it's very relevant. For 1997, it's very relevant for now.
Oh yeah. But that's not what the movie's about. Like they don't harp on it. It's just like someone says something and Chris Cooper disagrees and they just kind of move on. Like like when his friend is talking to the bartender when they're talking about there's some people they're naming a courthouse after Chris Cooper's dad, the former sheriff, and some people in town want it, some people in town don't. And the sort of the redneck bartender says, every street in America has a Martin Luther King Street. We can't have one measly courthouse. And Chris Cooper says, well, they were here before us. And then the redneck friend just says, well, let's just name it after Big Chief Shit in the Bucket. The Indians were here before the Mexicans for hundreds of years. But that character's not really perceived, shown to be like an evil guy.
Right.
In a movie now, he would be like the villain. He's just a fucking redneck who is a dumb shit and happens to be a bartender that Chris Cooper's friends with.
Yeah.
It's not like, there is social issues in it, but it's not, nothing's preached to you.
Yeah, there's another touching on that is they're having I guess it's like a meeting at school about the curriculum.
Right.
About some of the history of that border town and how the traditional telling of this history in their textbooks isn't necessarily the truth, and trying to interweave that, and you've got Elizabeth Pena, who's a teacher, who's like, look, I've researched this, this is what happened, and then you've got crazy white redneck chick that's like, that's not our history.
Yeah.
And it's just man, very, very relevant to a lot of issues today, especially concerning race and history. So
yeah, absolutely.
Awesome movie. Garrick, you okay? All right, buddy. Lee, did you watch anything this week, pal?
I did. I watched a few things.
Okay.
The first thing I watched was I've been meaning to check it out and just hadn't got around to it. I finally watched Bill and Ted 3.
Okay. I can't get myself really up for that one quite yet.
Well, I'll say this. I liked it better than I like Coming to America.
Really?
It's not. I'm not saying it's as good as the first one, as Bill and Ted, but it's a very sweet movie, and it sort of ties the other two. It fits in good with the other two. It's a very good sort of send off to the character.
I wouldn't have expected that.
Yeah, it's very goofy, but it's just I enjoyed it.
Nice.
I rented it on Redbox, and I didn't want my $2 back.
Okay, that's always a good feeling.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times that's not the case.
Exactly. And I watched another movie that came out last year, a New Zealand movie called The Legend of Baron Toa. And the best way I can explain it is kind of like an 80s movie like The Karate Kid or No Retreat, No Surrender. But since it's about Polynesian people, it's instead of being about martial arts, it's about pro wrestling.
Oh,
And
okay.
this guy, he's he's from New Zealand. He's from the Tonga tribe, and his dad was this famous pro wrestler called the Baron. And his dad died when he was young, and he moved to like Sydney, Australia, and he'd come back for the first time in like 20 years. And his dad's championship belt is stolen by this like local street gang. And he basically has to he's trying to talk his uncle into selling his dad's house so he can take the money and invest it in a business, because he has no intention of ever coming back to New Zealand other than that. And basically he has to, his uncle won't sign the paper until he gets the belt back.
Oh,
And
okay, I see.
the gang leader won't give it back to him unless he fights him for it. And much like Bill and Ted 3, it was a very sweet movie. It kind of shows how, whether it be, Polynesian people from New Zealand or Hawaii or Samoa, pro wrestling is very important to, those people. And I enjoyed the hell out of it. I
Nice.
rented it on Amazon.
It sounds very 80s. It has a very 80s premise.
Extremely 80s.
And that always, you can get me in the door with that, and then we'll see what else, see if you can keep me there.
And also, it's got a lot of heart, too.
Nice. Okay. Anything else?
No, that was it.
Okay. I watched a couple of things we can chat about here. First thing I watched, I don't know if we've ever talked about it on this show or not, but okay, so Jody had never seen Blade Runner. We watched it a couple of weeks ago, and so I had the opportunity to. I saw 2049 from 2017 was streaming somewhere a couple of nights ago, and I thought, let's check this out, because I'm pretty sure that I watched it, or I at least attempted to watch it in 2017, because I couldn't really, once it started, I couldn't really remember a whole lot of it. I remember Jared Leto, of course, but really just not a whole lot more than that. It's got Ryan Gosling and Harrison Ford in it, and here's all I'll say about it. It looks amazing, and it is absolutely 100% why Denis Villeneuve got the Dune directing job, I think, in my opinion, because this looks fantastic. But the story, it's I guess, and you don't need almost 3 hours to fucking tell it. And that I think that was the biggest part of it that I did not like, is it could have been condensed into a 2 hour or maybe a 2 hour and a few minute movie, and you would have had something, I think. But man, it is so fucking long and pointless, and a lot of scenes that just don't add up to anything and really should have been cut were kept. And, I guess for a movie that's made, 30 plus years after the original, it's about as good as you can do, I suppose. But I can't imagine ever sitting through it from start to finish again. Have you seen it, Lee? I'm sure you have.
I have. I watched it when it came out, yeah.
Okay.
It's very, like you said, it's very well done. It's like, how did you, you watched both of them.
Right.
I guess the best way to put it is it almost feels like a Blade Runner fan film. Like
Yes.
a multi-million-dollar fan film. Like it has everything about the original, it just doesn't have the soul of the original.
That's an excellent way of putting it. Yeah.
That's the best way to put it. And like I said, it looks great, and you probably hunted it right. That's why he got the job directing Dune. I hope Dune's great. I really do.
I do too, and I will.
I love that guy. I love him.
Prisoners.
It's one of my favorite movies. The last decade.
Sicario, Prisoners are two.
Prisoners.
They're just, he's slowly moving up the ladder, and now he is at the, big time. So we'll see.
Right.
I enjoyed Blade Runner. I actually did. I enjoyed it. I think you're right. I think it's a little bit too long.
He could have cut 45 fucking minutes off easy, dude.
But it looks so good that I don't mind it.
It's beautiful, but I just kept checking the clock. I'm like, oh my god, we've still got another fucking hour of this.
Yeah, that's how you know you've gone wrong. If you're looking at your watch during a movie.
Right.
know. I mean, especially a movie that's, you know, like it's based on a popular property. It's, I don't know. But then again, I mean, he's the director. That's what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and I'm fine with it. And for people, you know, huge fans of the franchise, you know, which I know you are, Lee.
I am too.
You know, it seems more like, say, like, it's just like fan porn. It's just feeding you that sci-fi world for hours and hours and hours. Another thing I watched, I've got to preface this by saying that this is actually a movie that I have badmouthed on this podcast before as being a no good piece of shit. And I'm here to tell you that I was not 100% accurate. I was maybe 75% accurate. Because it's not great, but I will say this, I think both of you guys need to give it a day in court because it has some scenes that are fucking amazing and could only be done by the guy that did it.
Wait a minute, I was so busy throwing up. Are we still talking about Blade Runner?
No.
Oh.
Okay. The other movie I watched is from 2015, Michael Mann's last film, Black Hat, starring Chris Hemsworth.
I do remember you talking about that movie.
I saw it was on the other night, and I was like, you know what? Fuck it. Let's see if it's as bad as I remembered. Now look, it's about this computer hacker that, you know, has the ability to backdoor like these huge companies. He backdoors a nuclear power plant in China and causes a meltdown, and he backdoors like the stock market and like causes like a particular stock to fluctuate in a crazy way. Money's going crazy, you know, just trying to fuck with people. And Hemsworth is like a super dangerous, super badass hacker that is in prison. And a guy that he went to school with who was his roommate is like the tech guy for China. And once the thing happens in China and then in the stock market in the United States, they decide to get him out of jail, and they kind of join forces trying to figure out who this guy is and how he's doing all this. And a lot of that is quite boring. But I only remembered one scene from this movie. And there are several action scenes in this movie that are so Michael Mann. They look fucking amazing, and they're just cool. It's like it got my hairs on my neck standing up a couple of times. I was like, damn, man, there he is, dude. I'm like, come on, man, you're getting old, dude. It's been 6 fucking years. You better get on something. And he is on something. I think he's got something working that's going to come out maybe in the next year or so. And look, like I said, it's not great, but
It has moments.
it's definitely worth a one-time watch because the moments that it has are pretty fucking badass. And
I'll have to look into it.
yeah, he utilizes Hemsworth in ways that I did not remember. So I'll just leave it at that.
Black Hat, huh?
Black Hat. The last thing I watched was the most stirring, I suppose, and just made me fucking sick and made me hate this fucking human being.
I hated him anyway. His movies suck.
Pharaoh versus Allen. It's a 4-episode documentary
How he messed around with his own daughter, piece of shit.
about Woody Allen. Well, these children... See, I didn't realize that Mia Farrow, and she's done this for decades, was adopting children left and right.
Oh, yeah.
Right? And so, at some point, she adopts this young girl by the name of Dylan. And for the next several years, I think until she's like 9 years old, he just is the goddamn worst. And it's not just her word. They're family members and babysitters and people who are around who have written testimony about what happened
I only got through 2, and then I didn't get any more. He actually molested her, right?
100%, 0% chance that this did not happen.
Oh yeah, no,
Well,
I 100%
Well, let's
think it
just
happened.
take that away. Let's say we have no proof that happened.
Right.
He still married his 18-year-old stepdaughter.
Yeah, the another girl who was there that...
I mean, even if you take that other thing away, that's still super weird.
And they're still married.
No, they're still married.
Yeah.
And my lead instructor and the head teacher at the school I went to, and actually he was the world's biggest Woody Allen fan. And he was like, but him and Mia Farrow were never married. I said, dude, that don't fucking matter. I said, whether or not they ever, had a wedding ceremony, he still lived in the house with that girl for years. Talking about Sue Neill, the one he married. That is, so, and then you add in all the other stuff about Dylan and all, and, it's just...
he was doing that with Soon Yi, like, he was staying in a hotel, and, like, people that were working there, she would come and stay for weekends, and they would empty the trash, and, like, the trash is full of fucking condoms. Like, there's no doubt this motherfucker was having maybe consensual sex with an underage girl, when she was, like, 14 or 15 at this point.
Who the fuck would have sex with Woody Allen? He is the ugliest fucking little shrimp piece of shit.
He better hope I don't ever fucking catch him on the fucking street, dude.
He is a piece of shit.
Because I would Superman punch the fuck out of this cocksucker. And here's the worst part.
Poor Rick Moranis gets hit.
Yeah. Here's the worst.
Woody Allen couldn't get punched.
This motherfucker. The worst fucking part about this. He will never see. He will never see justice over this. Number one, because unlike guys that we've talked about before, like the Weinsteins and the Cosbys of the world, who had 20 plus people giving testimony. This is a testimony of one girl, who, when this happened to, she was under the age of 10.
Right.
And although she has been backed, by everybody who was there, anybody who was around, Woody Allen took Mia Farrow to court to try and get custody of the children when she was making these accusations, and the judge was like, hell no, this guy needs to be brought up on charges. Like, he doesn't need to be around these kids at all. And the district attorney at that time had a conversation with the 9-year-old girl and basically talked himself out of trying to put her through any more fucking torment, because he could see that she had had enough.
Right.
And that's why back then, when she was a child, nothing really came of this. And all Woody Allen did after this was just shit talk Mia Farrow, make accusations, say everybody's out to get him. He's the fucking worst of the worst. And watching that documentary and seeing, like, Diane Lane and these other fucking people talk him up like he's God's gift to the fucking art industry, should be fucking ashamed of themselves, dude. He's the fucking worst. He should never be allowed to make a fucking movie in this country again. In fact,
his movies aren't even that good.
Well, here's the thing, and here's why it's relevant. You've got a filmmaker who has basically made one movie every year for like 40 fucking years.
Yeah.
You're not going to find many, if any, who can make that.
And writes them. So he writes them, and then he makes them.
That's what I'm saying. And I get it. Because I have seen some of his movies when I was younger, and I was like, okay. I guess I understand why people like them. It's not really for me. He's kind of witty or whatever. He's Mr. New York. Like, do you know how many millions of dollars he's given that city for all the movies that he's made there?
Oh, yeah.
Like, he is like a fucking... Like,
he's the Godfather.
He's like the Don. He's like the Teflon Don. Like, if you try to bring charges on him on anything in New York, dude, it's not going to happen. But I'm really glad that a lot of people who finally... people who were like staunch supporters, like writers and journalists of his, watched this and they were like, Man, I hated to admit it. And I love his writing and I love his movies, but I'll never watch any of his shit ever again. And that made me happy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That made me happy.
Boycott, just a personal boycott of him.
Yeah, I'm not one of those that's like, cancel everything, but this fuck needs to go away. His film library is fine. If you want to watch his shit, go right the fuck on ahead. I don't give a shit. But this cocksucker needs to be fucking in a hole. Whether it's in a fucking penitentiary or out behind somebody's house. The worst.
Yeah, I would agree.
So that's what I watched. Garrick, are you okay? You able to get through? You want to give me your notes and I'll get through what you watched?
All right, I watched Peter Bogdanovich's Last Picture Show with a very, very beautiful young Sybil Shepherd, speaking of young girls. God, man, she was so pretty in that movie.
Yeah, gorgeous.
And the writer was Larry Mcmurtry and Peter Bogdanovich. Shot in black and white, about a small town in Texas. Group of high school kids, kind of going through life, getting laid and drinking and playing ball, and how it's just a small. It reminds me a lot of Lone Star. It's a slow burn. It's about the characters, and it's fantastic. If you guys have never seen it,
That's a very good movie.
yeah, I love it.
What's it streaming on?
I have it. I can let you.
Oh, you have it.
Yeah, I have the DVD. Hold up.
Yeah, Peter Bogdanovich, he was kind of untouchable in the late 60s, early 70s.
Oh, yeah.
He was what? I couldn't hear you.
And so he was kind of untouchable in the late 60s, early 70s.
Whatever happened to that guy?
He was dating that girl. What was her name? Dorothy Stratton, the playmate. She got murdered, and I think, I didn't think he had some movies that didn't do so well, and just, I don't know, I think life just sort of got, he still directs. He directs a lot of TV, and, he makes a movie every couple of years, real small movie. But, he just, yeah.
It happens.
Have you ever seen his first movie, Targets?
I think so.
Targets is a very cool movie.
Way back in the day, though, I'd have to revisit it.
Yeah. Yeah, I dig his early stuff. It's very good.
Yeah, it is good. He's done a lot of good stuff.
Yeah.
But he did just kind of fall off the map. I can't remember
Yeah.
what his last movie was, but I'm going to find out right now.
I can't even remember.
Great Buster. She's Funny That Way in 2014.
Okay.
He did a couple of the Sopranos shows.
Yeah, he was Lorraine Bracco's psychiatrist on The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. That's cool. And then I watched one of you guys' favorites, The Thin Red Line.
You did?
I did. I love that movie.
No wonder you can't fucking breathe.
Yeah.
The weight of that movie has crushed your fucking chest. God. All I heard about that movie when it came out was, oh my God, you've just got to see it. Oh my God, it's just the most amazing portrayal in, this and that.
Well, that was the first movie he'd made like 20 years, so the hype was so huge then. He hadn't made a movie since the late 70s. Days of Heaven, right?
Oh God.
I love it. It's great.
Is it?
Yeah, it's great.
Okay.
It's his second best movie. I would say that's after Bad Boys.
Oh, I don't know. Not one of my favorites, and not one that I'll ever revisit again. I don't believe.
I got you.
Yeah.
Our manager's choice this week is, I think it's for 2007. It's the first movie Tommy Lee Jones directed. It's The Three Burials of Esquivel Morales.
Oh, it's so good.
I'm sure I'm butchering that. I'm sure I'm butchering the character's name. But it's kind of similar to Lone Star. It takes place in Texas. It's a crime film. Tommy Lee Jones is this. He's a boss over this large ranch, and this Mexican guy named Esquivel Morales starts working there, and then they become best friends. Like they're just super tight. And one day he's out tending his goats, and he shoots a coyote. And off in the distance, a border patrol agent hears the shot and returns fire, thinking he's being shot at, and kills Morales. and quickly buries him in the dirt, leaves him there. And just like in Lone Star, a couple guys out in the woods, they're hunters. They find the body, and he's buried a second time in a homeless person's grave because the county won't give Tommy Lee Jones the body. And sort of Tommy Lee Jones basically starts doing this detective work, trying to figure out who killed him, and just through talking to various people about things that were found at the crime scene, he finds the Border Patrol agent played by Barry Pepper, and he kidnaps him and has him dig up Morales' body, and they go on this sort of epic journey to Mexico so he can have Barry Pepper bury his friend in the Mexican town he was from. And it's a very heavy movie, but it's very well done. And it's a shame Tommy Lee Jones didn't direct more because it's great.
Yeah. A lot of former actors, man, are
yeah.
We talked about DeVito, man. They just like Mel Gibson. They just have an eye for it, you know.
Oh yeah, and probably the person who steals the show in Three Barrels, Vescar Morales, is Dwight Yoakam as the town sheriff. He's just the biggest douche, but at the end of the movie, he turns out to be a good guy.
Nice.
Yeah, I love that movie. That was the first time I'd seen it, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Nice.
It's very good. It's very, very good.
It is on Prime, I think.
I think so, yes.
Okay. What do we got next week, boys?
Well, speaking of, we talked about Peter Bogdanovich, a huge director in the 70s who sort of fell off. We're going to talk about William Friedkin, his movie from 2011, Killer Joe, which I don't know if it could be the scummiest movie we've ever reviewed on the show.
That gets me excited.
Yeah. It's very sleazy, but it's very well done. I'm a huge fan of it.
Okay. Killer Joe it is next week on the Texas block.
Yeah.
Yep.
You'll never eat fried chicken again.
Or you can eat fried chicken while you watch it if you want the full experience.
Thanks for listening. Check out our new link tree. If you go to the bio link in Instagram, you can go to a link that'll take you to everywhere you can find Tales from the Video Store. Check out our Facebook group. Check out our Facebook page or our website. Donate to us on our Patreon page. Next week, we will be introducing some new sponsors. Tales from the Video Store, the podcast. Tales from the Video Store, the podcast about the movies you've never heard of, but must see.